Hi, this is Guildner of Syzygy Coaching. I'm a life and leadership coach who helps successful women discover their next chapter, a next chapter grounded in passion and meaning. So welcome to all of our attendees, and welcome Gail Ridings. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is connecting great women to great women. And it was on this premise that I founded the Extraordinary Women Connect series. I realized just how many wildly successful women I knew in my life, and I wanted to be able to bring some of these connections together in meaningful story and support for just my own learning, for my clients' learning, for sharing amongst all of these great women that I know. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Gail Ridings, which is in the second of 4 interviews that I'm going to be doing in the next coming weeks. Gail is a former Ad Exec who's turned spa owner, and I just absolutely love her story. I know you guys as well. And we're going to explore with Gail some of my favorite topics on meaning and courage and passion and lessons in life. So you're all going to be in for a great treat. At the end of our sessions today, we will open up the line for discussions. For those of you on the call, you're going to have an opportunity to you can type in questions, and you also will be able to unmute you as well. Right now, everybody's muted down just to keep the quality of the line good. But as we get towards the end of the line, you'll be able to raise your hand. If you look on the panel that's on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a hand that you can raise that will know that you want to, that you have a question, or you can just type questions directly into the chat sections. I know we were already all chatting because we were trying to work through those little technical difficulties up front. But so as we get to that, to the end of the interview, we'll open those lines up for you guys. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to Gail Ridings, who's the founder and owner of the gorgeous Tallgrass Spa in Evergreen, Colorado. And Gail's story is really inspiring. She heard a calling in her heart. She was an ad exec, a busy ad exec. Circumstances came her way as what happens to so many people that kind of shift and change and alter the path of their lives, and that's what happened with Gail. And she heard a calling in her heart, and she followed it. And in doing so, she created a really very, very special place. For anyone who has had the opportunity to spend a day in the tranquil and beautiful Tallgrass Spa, you know what I'm talking about. And for those of you who have not, it's a Colorado must. It's a place you need to go to. It's awesome. And you can see a couple of the pictures on screen of the setting that this sits in. It just is a gorgeous valley in all of nature. So it's awesome. So welcome, Gail. Thank you so much for taking time to come and join us today. And so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Cami.
Good. Good. So you've told me the story of starting Tallgrass before. Could you share with our listeners today, just give them, a little bit of the circumstances that unfolded and kind of what callings you were hearing and what even motivated you to go down the pathway that you went down?
Of course. Thank you. I'm honored to share any insight that I may have or that I've been given in my life. A lot of it has happened to me, and I was very fortunate that I had the experience to take advantage of some things, and I think that's kind of the key, is to listen to what the universe is showing you. And I lived in Chicago. I was lived down in the city, worked in the city. I was on an airplane probably 6 flights a week for 15 years in sales, ad sales. Wow. And over the years, I had become a corporate barracuda, as I would say. And I was single, 40 years old, never been married. Very much, obviously, into my career. Not that I'd ever planned it, but I did end up being very into my career, and didn't have much time for anything else because, as you could see by my travel schedule, and I was a senior vice president of News Corporation, the company that Rupert Murdoch owns.
Right.
A huge corporation, and it was a pretty vicious circumstances in terms of the corporate mentality and the competitiveness and the everything that went along with it. The good news is I, was successful and was able to earn a lot of money. The bad news is that's pretty much all I had.
Right.
Was money and power.
That was your life.
And, yeah, that was my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it worked for a while, and then, one of the things that you and I talked about, a time or a moment or a situation that changes your life, and I'm an only child, and my mother in Kansas got lung cancer and very sick, and I decided I wanted to be with her, and I quit. I went in, flew to New York, and to the president said, I'm quitting, and he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I have no idea, but I'm going to go take care of my mother. So I quit, and it was really frightening because at that point, often when you get to that level, you're kind of, at least for me, I was reaping the rewards of what I'd done for the last 15 years. I was kind of in that senior position, and I didn't have to do as much. I had, $100 million worth of business that I was managing, and 4 assistants in a wing in the high-rise business building downtown. So it was kind of I wouldn't say easy, but certainly not a huge challenge at that point. The money was just kind of coming in, and
right. You were living the life.
Yeah. In some ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I was driving a Porsche and, racing around in my high heels and,
I love the vision.
Yeah, that was my life,
Right.
Get out of my way, right?
But then you got the call, and you decide. I mean, it's interesting. I think it's how our parents come back into our lives. I mean, I interviewed Amy Fowler Stadler just last week, and it was her father that brought her into the realm of kind of shifting some things in her life as well. So it's interesting how our parents help shift and change things, right?
It's interesting. Yes, very interesting. And as my mother, I was taking care of my mother, and as she was not doing well, a girlfriend of mine in Kansas City named Nancy Bible, or in Chicago, named Nancy Bible, she and I used to get together and have lunch, and she was in the ad business too, and we'd always talk about escaping to Colorado because both of us went to school out here. She went to CU and I went to CSU, and that was going to be our escape. We were going to come out here and open up a dudette ranch. That was kind of our joke that we'd talk about over lunch. And so we kind of kept talking about it after I quit. I had quit my job and was kind of going back and forth taking care of my mom. And we decided we'd do what some people think of when they think of dropping out of corporate America is we'd start a bed and breakfast. And it would be just so much fun, and we'd, decorate and bake goodies and entertain, and wouldn't it be fabulous? So I went off to a seminar in January of that year. This was 95, and went out to a seminar in Santa Barbara, and it said, so you think you want to become an innkeeper? And it was a 3-day seminar. And I called Nancy on the second day and said, we're not doing this. This is way too hard. It's, going to be 365 days a year, 7 days a week. They never leave. No way. It's too hard. So, but when we had first started thinking about it, we thought about having a day spa in our bed and breakfast, kind of as a point of difference. And this was before there really were any spas. Just a few, like one in a city, not like there are now
not like they are today,
every street corner, right. And so that's what we kind of started thinking about. And
I love how the seeds got started in one area, and then you start to explore it, and new seeds kind of come into the realm of it, and it evolves and it shapes, right? It doesn't always, that first idea isn't always the one to go with, but the opportunity to explore what that might look like can lead to new possibilities, right?
Absolutely, and I think the key is remaining open to what you can, what appears, and not getting set in it. The way I described it to someone once is that especially when you're in sales, you never take no for an answer. You crash through a wall, you go around it, you dig under it, whatever. You just make it happen. And this time in my life, I decided I was going to listen to some clues from the universe. And because I found a saying that I liked is, I was at the top of my ladder, but I found it was on the wrong wall. And
I love that.
That made sense to me, because I was at the top of my ladder, but I was like, what am I doing? This isn't my heart. This isn't, I've turned into as I said, a barracuda. It was not nice,
Right.
And so I really feel that I told myself that if I ran into some barriers or some no's or some, not fear, but huge clues from the universe, I was not going to just power it through and grit my teeth, because I don't think the right thing has to happen like that. I think, not saying you don't have to work really, really hard, but it shouldn't be an insurmountable, miserable struggle. It just, so.
Do you think there's something about being approaching it from a softer versus a harder?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what was coming to me as you were saying that. I could almost feel a difference.
Remaining a little bit vulnerable, a little bit open, a little bit able to hear and able to listen instead of being so driven. We're trained as women, I think, especially when I was, growing up, that, as you're competing in the business world, you've got to, drive, and, and it can work. It really can. But then where are you? So I think remaining open, like you said, is key.
One of my clients referred to that as relaxing into the goal. And I love, it was like one of the most brilliant things one of a client has said to me. It's like, yes, that's it. It's like you're settling into this different rhythm somatically to open yourself up to hearing what you need to hear. Right.
Yeah. And for me, I decided that I was 40. I figured I'm, as close to midlife as it gets, and I thought the first part of my year, my life, I created my lifestyle around my job, which most of us do.
Right.
Your job is here, so you live close to it, or you.
Right. You spend a lot of time there, right?
Yeah. So, and I decided the second half of my life, I was going to have my job revolve around the lifestyle I wanted instead. So I had 3 things in mind that I wanted for my future life and work and career. And they were, 1, it had to be in Colorado. I knew that. 2, it had to be in a more rural area, because I lived in downtown Chicago, worked in downtown. It wanted to be in a rural area. That was 2. And 3, this last one was crucial. I wanted to be able to get a dog and bring my dog with me to work.
I love it.
Those were
Welcome
the 3
to Colorado.
Things. Yeah, and that was it, truly. If it didn't involve one of those 3 things, I wasn't going to do it. And so the spa kind of came out of that, just very organically. It wasn't yes, day spas were growing, and yes, that happened to be part of it, but it wasn't like, all right, let's do the calculations and the numbers, and let's figure out what the best priority would be. It was more like, you know what, that seems to be a great idea. And Tammy, that is so weird for me, because I came hardcore corporate, numbers, spreadsheets, financials, blah, blah, blah. So to go into this with kind of this organic thought was very foreign to me.
Yeah.
Very
you trusted, didn't you? You had to trust.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the part about, you know, stepping into your fear and pushing through it. And
so talk about that a little bit. I mean, because it had to be a little bit scary at that point. I mean, was there a time where it just took that 20 seconds of insane courage to kind of help move yourself through some instances as you were starting at Tallgrass?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know, my mother died in April, and we came out here in May and started to look for a place to have this spa.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many times I'd lay at night going, what am I doing? I'm moving to a town that I know no one. I didn't know anybody in Evergreen. I didn't know anybody anymore in Colorado at all. I'm opening a business that I know nothing about. I mean, I knew as much about a day spa as you do, or any of your listeners. I knew nothing about it. And I'm like, and I'm going to put all the money that I've earned in my life into this. I've lost my mind. But yeah, it was horrifyingly scary. But I thought, you know, if worse comes to worse, I could be a waitress. I'm a good waitress. And at that point, I thought, if I can just get a little cabin and be a waitress and have my dog, that's where I was. That's what I wanted to do. And if worse came to worse, you know, so.
So it was just, there was a big drive underneath of all of it, and just stepped into it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And every day that something happened, a little something kept happening that was a confirmation that I was moving in the correct direction. And they weren't huge things, but just things just started kind of going click, 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 click. And I just was supported, you know, just little things like an obstacle would come up, whatever, and then a week later it would be solved in an interesting way. I mean, it was bizarre. It was so cool.
I always call that when we get into our right path that we're supposed to be on, that we're moving into, the synchronicity of who and what shows up in our life is just absolutely incredible. And I know it was the same way when I was starting Syzygy. It was just like things just started to click. It was just like right people came in, right opportunities came in, and it was like, oh, it feels so good and so right when you get onto that.
It's
that
magical,
tracking.
yeah.
It is magical. It is. When you were going through that, were there people that were telling you that you were absolutely crazy for doing this?
Yeah, of course, all the people in my old corporate life.
Yeah, that's
you
what
know,
I'm thinking.
the corporation people, and I understood that because they, you know, I also had done enough study. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I've been in AA for many years, and AA teaches, you know, there's basically fear or love, and you're operating either out of love and abundance and passion, or you're mired in fear. And I recognize how fear dominates lives, you know, and I understand it was just for their own fear, and I was very fortunate that I knew that, and it really, that wasn't a deterrent to me.
That you could step into the love piece of it.
Yeah. It was really important that I had to just keep leaving fear behind, and I knew that that's what they'd say. They had to say that, or how could they justify what they were doing?
Right.
So it was okay. That wasn't a problem.
Okay. So if you had the opportunity to bring a single piece of advice to a special young woman in your life, be she a daughter, a niece, or, you know, just someone really endeared that you really are endeared with, what guiding pearls of wisdom would you share with her or other young emerging leaders?
You know, I think two things. My basic things are, to thine own self be true. First and foremost, you've got to be true to yourself. And I see so many, mostly women, men too, but mostly women, get off where they need to be for themselves because they're so focused on someone else. And, you know, I understand women being caretakers, but they lose themselves. And I think that is key. I think you can be both successful or at anything, and a caretaker or whatever, and still be true to yourself. So that's the first thing. You have to know yourself and be true to yourself. Don't give that up. And the second thing is a pretty simple one, but is whatever job you're doing, whether you're starting out as a bus girl, which I did when I was in college. You know, I was a dorky bus girl, and I went up to the manager and said, you know, I really think we need a bus girls manual. I'd like to write it because I think some of the girls aren't really, you know, working. And I was busting tables. I mean, really? But I think no matter what job you do it as the best you possibly can. I think some people save themselves, and they're kind of like, well, I'm just, you know, waitressing, or I'm just, you know, working in this office being a secretary, or I'm just doing this, and I'm going to wait and really be passionate and good when I'm in my dream role. And I think that limits you, and that is how you limit your success, your ability to be successful. If you wait to show you, because you can shine as a janitor. You can shine cleaning the bathrooms at DIA. I mean, there is, you can shine at every job. And I see people kind of waiting. I'm like, ooh, that's not how you can make yourself fulfilled, not just successful monetarily wise, but fulfilled. There's something to be said for feeling proud about whatever work you do.
Right. I would agree with that. It's really step into it and take every opportunity to kind of grow and expand.
Exactly. Because I think that too many people are not in their perfect job, so they struggle with, you know, they're miserable, and they make themselves miserable.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Is to really appreciate and find the positive in whatever scenario you're in, because that will bring more positivity to you.
Exactly.
How do you mentor and guide women today?
You know, I am very, very, very fortunate that Tallgrass employs, I don't know, about 70, a little over 70 people. 99.9 are women. We do have a few men here, but mostly women. And it's really real. That is kind of what my life's work here, I think, is. I consider my personal guest or client at Tallgrass, me as the owner of the company, is my staff and my team. Because if I take care of them, motivate them, inspire them, guide them, mentor them, care about them, they take care of customers, certainly. They do all that. And since I don't personally have any children, I'm not blessed to have children, I feel like that's what I'm doing here, is helping people learn how to not just live their life, or not just become good employees of Tallgrass, but to become good citizens of the world. And it sounds a little lofty, but I think a lot of people have not gotten that kind of training at home for whatever reason. And I think, you know, some of the loss of solutions of all the marriages and stuff that are happening, people are losing some of that guidance. And so we at Tallgrass have 10 core values, and we really work on them hard here and really instill in them in lots of fun ways. How do you live? You know, what's balance? What's flexibility? How do you practice respect and gratitude and pursuing growth? And how do you give back to the world? And what's integrity? And it's a huge part. In fact, it's the part of what we do here. That is my goal of owning this company, is to change people's lives like that. Certainly to help people de-stress, but that's it.
And you do that by bringing different conversations with your employees, or what do you do?
We do it, first and foremost, we interview based on values, and we talk to them and make sure that their values align with us. And then we bring it into every meeting that we have. We do, each team takes one of our core values to run a meeting, and they have to do it with skits and techniques to, like, for instance, one one team leader may take. We communicate honestly in a professional manner. That's one of our value statements. So they all get together and they have to work on what does that mean and how does that work. And we also do tons of volunteer work. We do, we do everything from Evergreen Animal Protection League, a dog wash, to putting together soldier boxes for soldiers in Afghanistan with toiletries that we collect throughout the year, to the Mountain Resource Christmas party where we stuff Christmas stockings and we all put that together, to all sorts of environmental things. So I'm trying to show people by what we do here that caring for the world and being stewards and being of service is not only fun, but it's super rewarding and super inspirational.
Right, and so you really build that into your culture.
Absolutely.
Okay. So who are your personal heroes, and how have they made a difference in your life?
Of course we all have heroes in the big world that we listen to, from the Margaret Thatchers to the Mother Teresas and the people that we think are amazing leaders and business people. But probably the two biggest people that have influenced me are not hardcore business people, because that was what was in my old life. That was what I looked at. Now I care more about balance and caring for the world. So my husband is huge. He taught me so much about giving back to people. I had a tendency to be, and still can get, more into, well, it's about me, and what are we doing, and what is my company doing? And he's very into giving to everyone in the community, and he's taught me a lot about that. And then my best friend, Shelley, she was here and a leader in this community in every possible way. I mean, from Kiwanis to the Chamber of Commerce to everything in her family, and she just passed away from cancer. But she walked into her impending death, and it was coming, with the most grace and spirit and peace and just passion about life, and yet peace about death. And that to me was truly inspirational and something that made her a huge hero to me.
Nice. And it's so beautiful when someone can just entrench that into our souls and hearts in that sort of a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think your 70-year-old self would tell you today?
I think the biggest thing my 70-year-old self would say is slow down. I still keep from my corporate life, where I managed a lot, I still run fast. I still run hot, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I, even owning and managing and birthing a spa.
Right, exactly.
I need to learn. My 70-year-old self would have said nothing was that urgent, not that much of a rush. Ease out. And I'm better. I'm a lot better than I was. I mean, a lot better. But I still think there's always, as we all know, room to grow, and that would be my area is, just the old stop and smell the flowers thing. I mean, even hiking, I hike fast, Yeah.
So. Yeah. No, and I completely understand that. I carry some of that same thing, and I actually last Friday got an opportunity to work with a coach all afternoon, and for me, and it's the same thing. That was the message that was coming up for me. It was slow down. You just, you don't need to be going at the pace you're going, and so
and it's hard. That is a challenge for I think. Yeah, and I think for everybody in the world.
Exactly. So, and I think that in the space that you're in, it does all of us good to slow down with the spa, go treat ourselves, go be good to ourselves in that sort of way. So, what makes your heart sing and dance in your life today?
I am so blessed. I mean, in so many ways. It's hard to even count them. But one of the biggest things is to live here. And being outside in any way, shape, and form makes my heart sing and dance, especially with my dogs. Hiking is huge. And then I also have horses. So riding my horses in the woods or down a country lane, and my dogs come with me and my friends or my husband, and I'm done. I mean, just stick a fork in me. I'm so happy. And I'm very blessed. I get to do that, several times a week, and it makes me sing and dance, exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. So what I'd like to do is open it up for questions from the audience now. And you have, as you guys have two ways that you can do that. On the left-hand side of your screen, there is a red arrow that will expand your control panel on the right side of your screen. Did I say left-hand side of the screen? It's on your right-hand side of your screen. And Lorraine, if you want to unmute yourself, Lorraine's my assistant who's online with us, and you can do it you can submit your question in two ways. You can use the questions box in the control panel and type it in, or you can raise your hand, and there should be a little hand that you just click the button and it will pop up. So, are you there, Lorraine?
Yes, I'm here, and I actually have a first question for you, Gail. And you'd mentioned that it's really hard for you to slow down, and we're just curious, what do you do to turn off? Like, what do you do to relax or to remove yourself away from emails and text messages and everything else that's demanding, I'm sure, for you to be running the spa?
Yes. Thank you. It's a great question, and it's a really tough thing for all of us to do because unlike my life in the past when we had no cell phones or anything, now all of us are accessible practically everywhere. A couple things are great for me. One thing, even at the spa, our cell phones don't work here, and certainly I have my work line, but my cell phone doesn't work, and that is great. So the people that come here also can't be bothered or called or text or anything while they're here. I mean, obviously we have internet in case people want to, but so that's number one. But mostly for me, it's getting outside. As long as I'm outside and I'm in the mountains, that's my release. And I'm so blessed that it's 2 miles up the road is a open space dog park, and I can go walk around there, even if it's 15 minutes. For me, getting away, getting outside, taking a breath, connecting with nature, it shifts my focus, it shifts my head. It makes me realize that simple things that you can get balled up about this or that, or frantic about that deadline or that issue or that problem, and for me, getting outside puts things in perspective very easily.
Nice, and I love the fact that, I actually do love the fact that you have no cell phone coverage at Tallgrass. So many people don't ever turn their cell phones off, and that disconnect from technology is such a great gift to do for ourselves. We're just always connected, so I love that.
And it's kind of nice for people that they can say, I'm sorry, but there was no service.
Right.
It gives people an excuse, and sometimes, God bless us all, we need it. It's just that there's such an expectation, and I'm right there with it,
Right.
The expectation that everybody's on all the time.
Right, right. So we have another question from Rita. She's not seeing the screen it's on the right-hand side, Rita. It's there should be a little arrow red arrow that you can click on. But her question is some advice on how you prepared for the transition from a financial perspective. Just curious how it played out in your situation when you transitioned from that corporate world to starting your own
Yes. Well, the good news, the only great news of my old life was that I did have some money saved. So that was important and critical. But I had to get my head around a change in lifestyle. When you live in Chicago and you pretty much travel anywhere, buy anything, do anything you want for quite a while, I moved out to Colorado and I existed on no money for the first 2 years, and then I remember the first year I took a salary, it was $12,000 for the year. So I learned, financially, I had enough money saved to at least start the business, but I had to switch the way I lived. And for me, it was so easy to go from shopping at Barney's to going and buying my first skirt at Walmart. I'm not kidding. I bought a skirt at Walmart, and I thought that was the biggest deal in the world. And I thought, this is a really cute skirt. And that was how I changed. I didn't have to think anymore about it. But my head was so there. I was so ready. I didn't care anymore about that stuff. And I think the change in my lifestyle, and I was afraid. What if I go there and I don't want to live like this? What if that happens, So that was a fear, but I just changed the way I lived. I didn't go to fancy restaurants, I ate at home. And it was an easy change.
Yeah. When you've got that passion around what you're going to be doing and creating, and you're so on track, it's really easy to make those kinds of changes.
Right. And so much out here and being outside, walking in the neighborhood on a hike is free,
Right.
So that's what I wanted to do.
And that was feeding your soul, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Another question from my now is along those same, this is kind of, I think, back on your last questions you were just talking about. I would want to know how you find balance to still go a mile a minute, be outside, spend time with your husband, etc. So just the balance of it all. How do you manage to the balance of it all?
Well, I'm very fortunate right now. After being in the business, Tallgrass is almost 19 years old. So after 10 years or so, I have a spa director and an assistant spa director now. And so they shoulder a huge amount of the work, in terms of the daily things that happen at Tallgrass. I really now am only at Tallgrass 4 days a week in the mornings.
Okay.
So I am able to, in the afternoons, go take care of all the other things that I want to do, whether it's volunteer activities or being outside or working with my husband or taking care of my family or being with my friends. So it doesn't mean that I'm not in touch and that I don't sometimes work from home and I sometimes don't work at night, but I'm able to balance it a lot better because I'm not at the office from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. like, I did when I first started. And, I think that's the reward for putting in the time at the beginning is, I'm going to be 60 this year, so, there's changes.
Well, and I think there's a lot to be said for how you design a lifestyle. I think that's, as an entrepreneur, we have that opportunity to really step back and think about what's our lifestyle what lifestyle do we want to live, and then build our lives around that. I think you kind of hit on that up front, and I don't remember the exact quote you said, but I used to work, my job used to be my life, and now I build my life for, I'm not exactly sure how you worded that, but it was.
Well, in the first part, I built my lifestyle around my job, because that's what I did. In the second part, I built my job around my lifestyle.
Yeah, so you define what that lifestyle is supposed to be, that you want to live, and then you build the way you work around that. I certainly do that.
That's what I always tell people, that are looking to change their lives is write down how you really want, what you want your workday to look like. What will you be wearing? What do you want your office? Do you want to work with people? Do you want to work by yourself? Would you like to be in the city where there's lots of action and lots of things to see, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. Or would you rather be in the country? figure out how you want to. Do you want to get up early in the morning? Would you prefer to come in late? I mean, think about all those things so
Yes.
so that you can put it into the universe out there. This is kind of what I'm looking. This is how I want it to be, you know.
Yes.
And I think that it's amazing, like you just said. It's amazing how the universe will conspire to have that happen for you. But most people aren't clear what they want.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you said that. And I know my clients who are online are chuckling because that's where I always ask them that question, and they'll look at me like, well, I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but it is. It's if you get really clear, you know, it's like you did. I want to live in Colorado. I want to be in a rural area, and I want to be able to bring my dog to work. You know, it's
right.
That sort of thing. Get really clear about it, and you can manifest it. So that's really
exactly. It's so true. And here I am. I'm in Colorado in a rural area. My dog is actually one of my dogs is in my office with me right this minute.
Yes.
Cool.
Nice. Nice. Are there any other questions out there?
We do have a question from Michelle. She wants to know, Gail, what is the best advice you ever got from a mentor?
The best advice I got from a mentor is, again, it's along the lines of, to thine own self be true, but don't focus so, you have to plan, certainly, and you have to think about what you want to do, and you have to, you know, do some analysis, but too many people get into analysis paralysis, where they just, you know, they're thinking and planning and planning and thinking and thinking and planning. And my mentor told me, just after what, you got to do it. Just go do it. Yes, you may make some errors. You may fall on your face. You may not have the best exact idea, but you've got to go out and make the action. You know, sometimes everybody gets stuck in the planning part, you know, the fear to take that first big step. So he said, do it. Go do it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just little steps to start with, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's easy to, you know, the fear keeps telling us, well, you're not ready. You're not ready. You need to read 4 more books, you know, or, you know, and sometimes you have to just try it.
Yes, yes. Well, Gail, I love how your stories inspire. I mean, I remember how it inspired me the very first time you and I sat down and you shared some of this with me. And I'm certain many of the people listening today are going to be inspired to listen to their hearts more. And I'm hoping that they're inspired to step into action. If you're one of those listeners who's ready to create an amazing next chapter of your life, like Gail did on that monumental time back in her life when she decided to start Tallgrass, I'd love to talk to you. I offer a limited number of free strategy sessions each week. And if you chose to sign up with one of these strategy sessions, we'll play in the realm of what makes your heart sing and dance and how do you create more of that in your own life. If you are interested in that, just email me on the email that you see on the screen, and we'll get something set up to really help you jumpstart that. Our time's about up, and Gail, I want to thank you for sharing all your inspiration and wisdom with us. Your stories are touching, and if somebody is interested in experiencing the Tallgrass experience, how do they sign up, or where do they go to learn more about Tallgrass?
Well, it's, you know, our website is tallgrassspa.com, but I offer anyone, I talk with people too, just certainly not in the coaching capacity that you do, Cammie, and I must tell you that I have admired you for many years and what you've done in your coaching ability, and I've talked with you too, and you are an incredible woman and somebody who really can help people become who they want to be, you know, as we are all growing up. But I'm happy to talk to anybody at any time about, you know, starting a company or just making a change.
Yes.
I highly recommend that all of you, any of you, talk to as many people as you can. You know, my door's always open for that. Again, I think if you really want some good professional help, I would talk to Cammie. But if you want to come up and just chat, come and talk to me too.
Yeah, and come up and try Tallgrass Spa. Go get a massage and enjoy it up there because it's absolutely gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. I'm going to click this. Just to kind of close up our time together, I wanted to, we've got 2 more of these interviews coming up. We've got one next week with Jandel Allen Davis from Kaiser Permanente, and one with Meg Vanderlane, who's the Chief Communications Officer at MWH Global. We also have some upcoming events. I'm just about creating great women, connecting great women to great women. And so I've created a whole series of events throughout the year. Some of them are in nature. There's an executive hike. There's an art gala on May 21st. There is opportunity to connect and cause at some different events throughout the summer, and even in leadership with an equine guided leadership. So if you're interested in any of these Extraordinary Women Connect events, you can go to my website and get additional information on that. With that, I would like to once again just thank you so much, Gail, for your time and your wisdom and sharing with us. And,
thank you, Cammie. And okay. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and best luck to you all.
Oh, thank you so much. Talk soon, Gail. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.